Drivers, start your engines. Show on iSports Radio. My name is Gerald Stingy Jr. Welcoming you to the Extra Mile for today, January 28, 2021. And we are close to our first official race of the season. Rolex 24 is on Saturday. We go twice around the clock into sports car racing. And of course, we have to get to the laundry list of changes that went through NASCAR into this season. We were going to try and give you a Cliff Notes version last week, but there was no way we could fit every major change into even a 15-minute overrun. So here we are, part 2 of the 2021 preview show as well. And joining me on the program right now, Michael Ward will be here in a little bit. And who's with me right now, Christopher Lee. Christopher, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me as always, Daryl. Can't wait to talk a little NASCAR with you.
Let's get into it. Taryn Rodriguez is in the chat. The IE Sports Radio Hall of Fame, Taryn Rodriguez, which I forgot to mention at the start of the season. I haven't been on since that declaration has been made, so congratulations to him and the rest of the IE Sports Fan Hall of Fame members. Oh, that was a bad pun, and you know it, T. He said rolling Rolex. There's been Undertaker in here now from that. And I know that's dating myself a lot, but yes, I do remember badass biker Undertaker. But welcome in, everybody. It is the Extra Mile. Before we get going, strange goings-ons in the internet this week, as the Redditors apparently are taking on Wall Street in some sort of, I don't know what this is. Just, here's the Cliff Notes version. A bunch of Redditors got together and decided to expose the system by buying up a whole bunch of GameStop stock. A lot of people made some money. Robinhood then, and a bunch of other apps where they were using to trade these stocks, and started shutting it down, which drew the ire of congressional leaders and the people trying to buy this stock. And by the way, this was an update earlier this evening. Robinhood is now being sued by its users in a class action lawsuit over this. So this story continues to grow legs. Obviously, we are not a financial advice show, and obviously do not take the financial advice of Christopher or I. I think we have enough knowledge between both of us of the stock market to probably lose all of our savings, but this is pretty wild, Christopher. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And actually, I know a lot about how this happens, and I could deep dive into it in pretty good detail. But the short story is, what big hedge funds do is they sell stocks that they don't own. It's called short selling. And they sell stocks because they anticipate it falling throughout the day, and then they'll buy them back later. And what they sell it for and what they buy it back at, whatever's in between, is what their profit margin is. Mm-hmm. So these Redditors bought the stock that these guys short sold, and then now they're holding it and they're not selling it back, driving the price of the stocks back up, because these companies have to buy those stocks back. It's just, how long can the Redditors hold out? And the longer they do, the more valuable that stock becomes.
They're trying to get, I don't know what happens on Friday. Something important happens on Friday because they're trying to hold on to these stocks until Friday or tomorrow, obviously. It's going to be a fun day on Twitter. I'll try to keep tabs on it while I'm at work because I have some calls I have to make. But it's going to be interesting to see Redditors versus Wall Street. Did not have that on the 2021 bingo card. 2020 started off depressing. 2021 is starting off weird. And I expect the weirdness to continue, which bodes well as they're coming into a race this weekend. Obviously, the Rolex 24. One of my favorite races of the season. Christopher, I don't know if you've watched much of the Rolex 24, the Twice Around the Clock endurance race, but this is a lot of fun. It's the first race at Daytona, really the first major race on asphalt, because yes, the Chili Bowl is at the beginning of the year, but this is really the first major race on asphalt. A lot of NASCAR guys still are now running this race, and it's really an excitement of knocking off the ice and going on down to sunny Florida and going around the clock twice on one of the best road courses, which is also built out of an oval, as it were.
Yeah, this is a exciting race, and a stat that just kind of popped into my head that I didn't even think about until you brought up these NASCAR guys running is this is the second consecutive year where your Cup champion is running the Rolex 24. Last year, obviously, Kyle Busch, and then this year is going to be Chase Elliott. And something like that is going to bring a lot of excitement to this race. It's going to get the NASCAR fans hyped up. I don't even like Kyle Busch very much, but I watched him last year. Maybe didn't root for him as hard as I could have or should have, but it was still fun to see, the guys that we know and love hopping in other disciplines and giving it a whirl. And I'm excited for it, Daryl. I'll be rooting on Chase and Jimmy, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yep, and Michael Ward is also joining us as well. And we've got, Michael, thank you so much for joining us as well this evening. We got a lot of fun coming up this weekend, man. The Rolex 24 starts off the racing season. This is you and I, one of our favorite races. I know we had the qualifying race on Sunday, which is weird, but it is what it is. What's your excitement level going into this week?
And I'm just glad it's racing season again. But
so Michael, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just say, what are you more excited about, the Rolex 24 or all that GameStop you bought last week?
Well, we'll talk about that later.
That sounds like the sigh of a guy who missed the boat, by the way.
Yeah. And for the record, everybody listening, the smart money already bought in and they've already cashed out. Do not participate in this. Yeah,
and I think that's something we do need to mention. Don't jump in now. It's too late.
Yeah.
Just wait, because it's probably going to happen again. But back to the Rolex. Go ahead, Michael.
I'm excited just to see how a lot have changed in Rolex. Wayne Taylor Racing is now using a Acura. Okay, that's a major change there. Kevin Magnussen is in for the season, which I honestly think he's going to do well. Of course, I'm still going to root for Team Mazda no matter what. Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking forward to it. A lot has changed this season. A couple of GTE cars are out, but I think it's still going to be a great season in GT3 and DPI here.
It's going to be a fun season, and of course, we know the situation with GTLM. That class is dying a slow death in both WEC and IMSA competition. IMSA, for their part, already jumped out ahead of it. They've already announced GTD Pro is coming for 2022. It's going to be a GT3 version. Basically, GT3 cars are going to be able to run with higher-level drivers, which is going to be attractive to teams that are working with manufacturers. We probably won't see a lot of manufacturer in-house teams, but we will see a lot of those customer teams coming in with their pro lineups. Corvette, they might either go to WEC for a year or miss a year as they get their GT3 car ready, because it's going to take a lot to adapt the current Corvette to GT3, but that is what's coming. And Christopher, it feels like we are in a point of motorsports. There's a lot of changeover when it comes to cars, And I think this is just the tip of the iceberg if you saw the GM news that is coming up for 2035.
Yeah. And I think one of the difficulty, I think motorsports as a whole is going to go through a little bit of a decline. And it's because people are waiting for these new cars. Mm-hmm. And when, like, specifically in the endurance, with these different classes and stuff like that, and people potentially taking time off to start developing the next car, you're going to see a decline in competition. And also, I think as an effect of that, you're going to see some fan attendance or attention, Twitter mentions, all that stuff. I think it's going to go down a little bit with it. Fans were definitely disappointed we didn't get the new car in NASCAR this year, me being one of them. Coronavirus happened, obviously, but I think that it's a rough time for so many new cars to be coming out right now. But at the same time, once we get over that hump and they're all here, I think we're going to be good for a while.
Geez, sorry. There was a video of, I think that's a LMP3 car, and that brings us to my next topic, and we'll talk about more of this after the breaks. We're 4 minutes from it. But one of the GT3 cars during practice, Lawrence Vanthor tweeted this out about 30 minutes ago. The car just slams on brakes on the straightaway going towards the trioval, and then just comes over 4 lanes to get in the pit lane, almost crashes the Porsche that was following. I'm not sure this is a GTD or GTLM Porsche, but GT3, or LMP3 rather, the wild card class here, a lot of guys that don't do a lot of racing, and we'll get into this detail later. Michael, that could be the wild card class of Saturday's race.
Yeah, I can see that happening. A lot of people in those cars don't race very often, and it entails a lot of mistakes. So it's going to be interesting seeing how these guys deal with the pressure of being overtaken by DPIs and LMP2, but also having to navigate GT, LM, and GT3 traffic.
And that's the thing. If you haven't seen this race before, there's going to be 5 classes now on the track. The traffic already in Rolex 24 competition is tough. It's going to be extremely tight, especially in the infield section, to try and get through all of the different prototypes and, of course, the 2 different GTs, which, Christopher, that means chance for some fireworks, especially when we get into the nighttime.
Yeah, and I mean, everything changes after dark. Everything does. And that's where a lot of these mistakes are going to happen.
I wish they would turn off the floodlights.
What's that?
I said I still wish they would turn off the floodlights.
Just run by, yeah.
Just so that these guys can have a bit of a challenge.
I think that's for TV. I know they do turn them down, but for TV they have them up so that we can actually see on the banking, and probably for safety crews as well, because that place gets quite dark when you turn off all the lights. So we see that at Le Mans as well, which most of that track is on public road, but they keep the lights dim here at the Rolex 24, especially now that they keep the cameras on for all 24 hours. But it's going to be a nice race. No rain this time. Last few years we have dealt with some monsoon-like rain in Florida around this race, but it's going to be in the 60s on Saturday, about 75 degrees on Sunday, so it's going to be a clean green race. About 11% chance of rain on Saturday. We'll see what happens there. Of course, in Florida, who knows what the rain's going to do, especially in the summer. I've seen the storms form out of thin air. Trust me, I know. I was there at Daytona a couple of years ago, so I've seen it.
It'd be an ironic thing to start off 2021 with another rain delay. Well, not rain delay, but more rain.
Yeah, we'll probably see a lot of rain this season affecting races. But before we go to our first break, we have to thank one of our great sponsors that keeps the lights on here, and I'm talking, of course, about Legacy Financial. Legacy Financial... Oh, sorry, let me go to my other screen. I did write a read for this. 2020 was a rough year. If you're in a financial struggle and you need some help, give Andrew and Io of Legacy Financial a call. Legacy Financial will make sure you bounce back strong in this year, 2021. They may even give you some tips on some stocks that you may be able to take advantage of, like a bunch of people took advantage of GameStop earlier this year. To book your appointment, call 951-732-0130 or 510-928-2104 today. Thank you so much to Legacy Financial for sponsoring IE Sports Radio. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to get into the starting grid of the Rolex 24 and go class by class, giving our thoughts on what we are going to see. We'll be right back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Folks, schoolwork, especially in these days of virtual learning, can be a drag. Trust me, I'm still in school right now, and I'm hating every moment of the virtual classwork. Or, okay, maybe not really with what I'm doing now, but definitely last semester, the virtual coursework was a drag. Sometimes you need some help from your mom. Mom is Always Right Media has editing and tutoring services to help you reach the top of your game. And for those currently seeking employment on the job market, Mothers is Always Right has employment services ranging from application help to interview prep to make sure you get the job of your dreams. For more information, head on over to momisalwaysright.com. Thank you so much to Mom is Always Right Media for sponsoring IE Sports Radio. And yes, I can tell you from last semester more than this semester, and Michael can as well, the virtual learning thing has run its course. I think we can all say that. The teachers don't like it. The students definitely don't like it. Nobody likes it. We hope to be back in the classroom soon. If you want to be, and this is my own personal PSA, please mask up. Please social distance. We're 10 months into this, guys. It is what it is. We don't care about your opinions. Mask up and get the vaccine when it's available for your group. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I want to go back and watch some races. Anyway, let's get into the Rolex 24. We're going to go class by class here. And, Michael, we'll start with DPI. Whelen Engineering Racing is on the pole. This was set by the qualifying race that was on Sunday, and the Wheeling Engineering Cadillac ran away with the 75-minute qualifying race, where everyone was really just trying to make sure they got their cars to the end. We didn't see any real major incidents. No, Christina Nielsen and her Porsche ended up off course in the bus stop. Sorry about that. And then in turn one, we had some P2s and P3s get into it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But as far as DPI is concerned, Wheeling Engineering strikes first this season with Nasser, Conway, Pippo Durrani, and Chase Elliott taking the win. And coming up in DPI on Saturday, it's going to be a fatal four-way between the stalwarts of the category, Acura, Mazda, Caddy, and Acura going at it once again. And Michael, Caddy has the car advantage, but that doesn't mean they have the performance advantage with Acura and Mazda. I actually put Acura on here twice, my bad, so it's actually a three-way. But Acura and, of course, Mazda, extremely tough competitors.
Yeah, they're very tough competitors. Mazda has really stepped up their game in the last few years, and Acura has always been a beast. So I don't expect the 24 hours to be very easy on them indeed. Also, fun fact, Daryl, I put this in the chat, but how do you feel about Acura thinking about delving into LMBH?
Well, we were expecting those categories. We were expecting to hear that some of these LMP or DPIs rather would join in Le Mans Daytona hypercar configuration. I'm excited to see Acura join in because that means we could finally have some American prototypes back, or American running prototypes back on the Le Mans grid. We haven't seen that in a while.
Here's another kicker.
Mm-hmm.
Mazda's thinking about joining it.
I can't wait to see Mazda do it. Mazda's come so far, by the way. Christopher, I don't know. You obviously didn't hear this, but early in Mazda's career, they had a propensity to catch fire.
Let's not talk about this.
So they've come a long way, and they were really strong last year. I know Yost has stepped away to help with Scuderia Glickenhaus in the World Endurance Championship. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, Acura Mazda Caddy should be a good race this weekend.
Oh, it's definitely going to be a good race. I cannot wait for the 24 hours, the Rolex 24 hours. This is one of my favorite races ever.
Let's go on. Let's go on over to LMP2 now. We got PR1 Mathiasen with Ben Keating, Mikael Jensen, Scott Huffaker, and Nicholas Lapierre on the pole by virtue of winning the qualifying race. Orica pretty much dominates LMP2, and Michael, this is kind of the state of the grid. This is kind of what people were worried about when LMP2 went to a more spec grid where they only have a couple of chassis combinations, that one of these was going to hit and everyone was going to flock to them. Most of the LMP2 grid is made up of Oricas, one Dallara, one Ligier on the field. It just feels like it's LMP Orica.
It's funny because I thought the exact opposite was going to happen. I thought everyone was going to run Ligiers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the Orica completely took me by surprise.
And Christopher, we've seen in NASCAR where when one manufacturer gets out, they start tweaking with the rules. And I know this is not in IMSA's control, it's of the ACO, but do you think they've got to start thinking about making some changes to the LMP2 formula for the next rules package when it comes around?
I don't think I'm really well versed enough to have too much of an opinion, to be completely honest. But what I do have to say is that rule changes are always over scrutinized. So if it's not completely necessary, I probably wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I think it's something you should look at, if only to give a boost to Dallara and Ligier, because it makes no sense to have three LMP2 manufacturers, but only one is really being run. Because eventually Ligier and Dallara are going to find a way to go do something else. Now, Dallara builds the Indy car, so they're making plenty of money, but I'm not sure what Ligier is doing outside of making the LMP2.
I can see, like, if Ligier doesn't get the performance boost that it needs, they're probably going to maybe scrap their IMSA program altogether and continue on with the WEC, where they're more ran there.
Yeah, that would stink, by the way. But We'll see what
it
happens.
Is what it is.
Yeah, and then we get into, oh boy, is this category going to get scrutinized this weekend. Le Mans Prototype 3, Milner Motorsports America, Moritz Krantz, Lawrence Hoare, Kenton Koch, and Stephen McAleer. I don't think I got any of those last names right, by the way, except for Koch. But this category has already been compared to Le Mans Prototype Challenge of the last few years. And Michael, you and I both know if we're comparing a class to LMPC, that's not a good thing. We already saw one of the LMP3s cause trouble in practice. This is an interesting category because it's gentlemen, basically to a team, gentlemen or low skilled, and that doesn't mean poorly skilled, but as far as the licensing system is, low skilled drivers, mostly bronze drivers, maybe some silvers as well, running these prototypes. And it's a lot of gentleman drivers. They don't have the robust pit crews. They have to make like 8-minute pit stops because they're all on minimum pit stop time. What is this category going to do on Saturday or Sunday? Are they going to have a good account of themselves, or they going to be the designated full course caution when the lights go down?
I hope that's not the case because, this is not once in a lifetime, but this is a momentous occasion for a lot of these drivers. So I'm hoping they try to keep it together, but if it isn't, have the popcorn ready, I'm guessing.
Well, the good thing is this isn't for their championship, so if anyone messes up here, they will not have to worry about taking a big hit in the points. They're all basically racing for pride, but they've also got to remember there's 4 other classes around them. LMP3, I think, is barely faster than the GTLM and GTDs, so they have got to be on their P's and Q's out there, because if they wreck one of the leaders in any of these categories, it's going to be an ugly interview when they go over to the Infield Care Center to talk about what happened. So my hope is that the LMP3s can give a good account of themselves. If not, well, we'll see what happens with them going forward. Personally, I don't know if they should be in this race. They don't really run any of the other longer endurance races. They're getting their first shot here, I believe, with Daytona, and I think the ACO is going to be watching this extremely closely. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's just like, this is also some of these teams' first time trying to do something like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to do this?
I mean, we know how hard 24 hours is on race cars and teams. It is one of the toughest marks in racing to win a 24-hour race. The biggest teams in the world have struggled to compete in this race, both here in Daytona and also at Le Mans. Heck, we could do an entire show that's just about Toyota's struggles at Le Mans. Michael is also a Toyota fan. I am also too, and I have felt his pain on that. There's a possibility we could see those cars back over here when they come. The hypercars, by the way, when they homologate the rules between Le Mans Daytona hypercar and the Le Mans hypercar of course, the ACO rules. Anyway, with these teams that are, I don't want to say on shoestring budgets, but are definitely more weekend warrior type teams and prototypes, this is going to be challenging. But we'll move into the GTs now. We'll start with GTLM. Corvette Racing on the pole, the number 4 with Tommy Miller, Nick Tandy, and Alexander Sims. Michael, this is a category on its way out. 6 GTLMs starting the season. This will be the last time this configuration runs at Daytona, with GTD Pro coming next season. It's unfortunate because we love the GTLM/GTE format. It's given us a lot of close battles at Le Mans. It's given us a lot of memes with the BMW, but nobody wants to run it. Yeah,
it's sad to see it go. In my opinion, it was for a good while, my opinion, the funnest class out of the bunch. But these things happen. Teams have other interests, and well, not teams, but manufacturers have other interests, and it's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. But for the remaining teams that stick around, I hope they have a really good season.
And the unfortunate part is it's basically going to be two Corvettes and WeatherTech Porsche battling it out for the rest of the season. And it's unfortunate, as Corvette has been extremely loyal to IMSA since the start of the series, or since the start of IMSA sanctioning, rather. So they've stuck it out with GTLM. We hope they come back for GTD Pro, but we'll find out. That category, by the way, will start in 2022. It's just going to be GTD cars, also known as GT3 around the world, with more pro outfits running it. And speaking of GTD, which is going to become GTD AM, I guess, Turner Motorsports with Bill Oberlin, Robbie Foley, Aiden Reed, and Colton Herta are on the pole. Turner Motorsports have been around since the Grand Am days. They've been one of the main outfits for BMW in GT3 racing, so it's nice to see them on the pole yet again. In a diverse grid of GTD cars, from Acura to BMWs to Lexus to Porsches and Lamborghinis, all ready to do battle twice around the clock. Michael, this class usually puts on some of the best racing ever since its inception, and I think they're going to have another barn burner this season. Or this weekend.
Oh, yeah, I agree. GT3 racing is some of the best racing you can ever watch. So I think it's going to be a close one, and I cannot wait to see them do battle, because these guys go at it. They cannot pull away from each other. It is a 24-hour sprint race for these guys. So I would keep your eyes locked on the GT3 battle.
So we're going to see what happens this weekend. Michael, you have any thoughts, any early thoughts of who you think is going to win this thing?
I would love for Mazda to win, but honestly, I'm rooting for the Mazdas, but I'm also going to be looking at the 01 of the Chip Ganassi car. Because Kevin Magnussen's driving that car, and I would love Kevin Magnussen to have a bit of a redemption story after, getting axed in F1.
I would love to see Magnussen come home with the win in DPI. I always have to pull for the Corvettes in GTLM. GTD is going to be a toss-up, so will LMP3. LMP2, I cannot look past Performance Tech getting there, trying to get the win. We know how strong they have been in previous categories in the Rolex 24, so we will see what happens coming up this season. And folks, we've got a stacked lineup of IE Sports Radio shows coming up. Tomorrow, we've got the Defining Moment at noon with Larry B, taking you around the world of sports. And then stick around for our show dedicated to Ohio sports, the state of Ohio sports, with Andrew Hagenbach. And then at 8 p.m., the SoCal Supreme Show with our IE Sports Fan Hall of Famer, Taryn Rodriguez, giving you everything that's going on in Southern California. And wrap it up with the Sports Couple Perspective with Larry B and Cecilia giving their opinions on all things sports. And then Saturday, get up to date with everything happening in Indiana with High Octane Entertainment with Justin Lair. And Sunday, of course, Soccer Scoreboard Show at 2:30, 5 p.m. or 2:30 Pacific Time, 5:30 Eastern. The Soccer Scoreboard Show, 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, will be Fast Break with Davidson Crooks and Dentarius Locke, taking you through everything there is to know about basketball. Check that out on the iSports Radio Mixler, by the way. And then we will start everything over again on Monday with Chi-Town Weekly and Let's Whine About Sports. And you want to know more about our schedule, head on over to www.iesportsradio.com and make sure you keep it locked to our social media pages on Facebook Instagram, and Twitter. And all of this fine programming would not be possible, of course, without our sponsors. And we want to give our shout out to some of them. Of course, It Goes Down in the PM, one of the podcasts of the Mom is Always Right Media Network. Make sure you check out a new episode of It Goes Down in the PM, always brought to you by Mom is Always Right Media, where they can help you open your business from start to finish. And, of course, Coffee After Dark. You can check out Season 2 right now. They are keeping you up on the next chapter of your favorite love story, so make sure you check out Coffee After Dark, a part of Mom is Always Right Media. Thank you so much for their sponsorship of IE Sports Radio. When we come back, we're going to get into NASCAR, and there is a lot of changes that we've got to get to. We'll be right back after this on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And Let's Whine About Sports and other IE Sports Radio programs would not be possible without the Sports Rundown. Are you a sports fan but have too much going on in your life these days to keep up with the 24/7 sports news cycle? Or maybe you're new to sports and want to understand the nuances better. If so, then the Sports Rundown is for you. They're a podcast that gives you the basic professional and collegiate sport news, stats, tidbits, and fun, so that by the time you get to work, start that second cup of coffee, or even finish walking the dog, you've got enough information to make you dangerous while talking about current sporting events and teach you something fun along the way, like mascots, uniforms, history, feel-good stories, rules, and more. New episodes drop Monday and Friday mornings, so make sure you give this Sports Rundown a listen. Thank you so much to the Sports Rundown for sponsoring IE Sports Radio. So let's get into it, boys. NASCAR has had a lot of change between last season and that, to the point that the main header for this topic on the document I sent out just says change, because that's the only constant. New teams, new drivers, new places, a brand new schedule, a new car coming. Christopher, we talked about how this would be a renaissance year, and I guess NASCAR kind of took that to heart, and so did its teams as well, because they've changed about everything but the name on the front door at this point.
Yeah, and I think I can speak for a lot of NASCAR fans when I say that this change is exciting. We got a revamped schedule, and it's very favorable for me. I like Chase Elliott, so seeing all those road courses, I anticipate being able to celebrate some Chase Elliott wins this year. And the pandemonium, we thought there was a silly season last year. Who would have predicted that just about every team has a major shakeup in it? Not to mention everything going on with, guys like Michael Jordan's team, Pitbull's team. There's just movement all over the place, and it's beautiful chaos, Daryl. Beautiful chaos.
Let's start right there with the driver changes and the new teams. This is just a short label of the driver changes. This is just in Cup. We're not even going to get to the Xfinity and truck list yet, because oh my goodness. Eric Jones is going to RPM in the 43. Ty Dillon's going to run going from Germain to Gaunt Brothers on a partial schedule. Ross Chastain finally gets into the 42 at Chip Ganassi Racing. Christopher Bell gets to the 20 from Levine Family Racing. Briscoe's now at the 14 for the departing Clinton Boyer. Alex Bowman moves from the 88 to the 48 with Jimmy Johnson leaving, and Anthony Alfredo goes to the 38 in Front Row Motorsports. That's just the guys that changed jobs. Now we got to get to the guys that are expanding or that are going to expand at teams. Spire bought the Levine Family Racing Shop and expanded to 2 cars. Corey LaJoie is going to run the full season in the 7. They're going to have a revolving door at the 77. Rick Ware Racing is expanding to 2 full season cars with Cody Ware and Josh Malicki. Garrett Smithley is going to run a limited season effort once again. Colleague Racing coming up to Cup from Xfinity with a partial schedule. AJ Allmendinger is going to run full time in Xfinity as well. And now the new teams. BJ McLeod Racing going full-time after buying the Go Fast charter. McLeod would drive the car there. And then, of course, the teams we mentioned last week. Bubba Wallace in 2311. Trackhouse with Daniel Suarez. There's a lot of cars, Michael, that we have to keep up with that are going to be new on the grid this season. And that's before we get into any teams that are going to make one-off appearances like Tommy Baldwin Racing, New York Racing, and the Money Team if they decide to show up at any point.
Yeah, if they decide to show up. But I'm looking forward to all these changes, Daryl, to be honest with you.
I am as well. It feels like the sport is... and Christopher, Michael, you both have heard on Twitter, every week, if you go to a comment section... it's going to be that one person that's going to be tweeting, NASCAR's dead, or this is why NASCAR is dying, usually on something.
It died with
innocuous.
Dale.
Oh, my gosh, it died with Dale.
It died with Dale.
NASCAR has died like 15 times to these people, yet we've got new cars coming in, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to the fan base, but I just have to call it out. We've got new teams coming in. We've got new owners from different parts of the world coming in as far as celebrities joining. We've got a new schedule. There's a new invigoration with NASCAR. We got the Bristol Dirt Race. We've got Nashville coming back. The sport is not dying. It's reorganizing, but it's not dying. I think we can agree on that.
Absolutely. The changes that we saw over this past summer have only propelled NASCAR into the right direction. And I anticipate that we're going to see more celebrities stepping in, whether that's in an ownership role or just as a fan tweeting on Twitter, such as Bernard Pollard Jr.
Cannot wait for his tweets this season. Also, Alvin Kamara is back.
Yeah. So, I think that we're heading in the right direction. And, Bubba Wallace, it's obviously not just Bubba Wallace leading these changes, but NASCAR is definitely taking what he has to say into consideration. And, hats off to Bubba, hats off to NASCAR, hats off to everybody in the industry that is coming together and making these changes happen. And we're starting to see the fruits of that. You got guys like Michael Jordan coming in. You got, it's more Bubba, but Bubba's got sponsors. They're turning down sponsors at the door. NASCAR is in, and that's exciting.
And none of this happens without the removal of the Confederate flag or NASCAR's commitment or recommitment to equitability in the sport. They've jumped in with both feet because they know what their unfortunate stereotype is, and they know they've got to change it. So they've gone all in, and right now it's help. Pitbull does not buy into a NASCAR effort if the Confederate flag is still going to be flown in the infield at Daytona. Michael Jordan doesn't join up with Denny Hamlin to build a team if the Confederate flag is still flying at NASCAR races. Like, people have got to understand these changes that are being made have to broaden the audience for NASCAR, because if the audience continues to be narrowed, there's not going to be a sport left. And that's even before we get into the changes that could be coming in 2035, with GM announcing, along with Ford, who's already started to move in this direction, the internal combustion engine has a sell-by date now. It's 2035. So we'll get to that. Hopefully we're still doing this podcast at this time. And we'll get to that point when we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, of course. But of all the moves that were made just in Cup, remember, we haven't gotten an Xfinity or truck yet. What are some of the most intriguing moves to you guys?
Honestly, I gotta say, Michael Jordan joining the chat, man. Like, I never thought in a million years I would hear Michael Jordan decides to start a NASCAR team. You know,
Yeah.
Did you think about that?
I didn't see it coming.
I did not see it coming.
He did grow up in the South though, and he did grow up liking NASCAR though. So, you know, with the changes that we saw this year, maybe it's not as big of a surprise as, you know, we kind of take it to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Trackhouse intrigues me, as we were talking in the USRN chat. They might be the best team of the new crop that are coming up. I also am interested in Rickware Racing and Spire, that they're expanding, getting some full season runs. They're preparing to go ham in 2022. What are their efforts going to look like? Because we're expecting to see some increased performance from them. And the hope is that they can do well, and that they've got some more resources under them. But of course, we haven't spoken about this yet. Kyle Larson is back in the 5 car, and of course this is not, you know, we're not looking past what he said. We've talked about it enough. He's getting his second chance, and you guys can talk amongst yourselves for a little bit about this. What is a realistic expectation for Kyle Larson, being that he is out, or that he has been out of the car for a year?
You know, I've said. Go ahead, Christopher.
So for me, and we kind of talked about this a little bit in the pre-show, Daryl, that I want to temper the expectations for Kyle Larson. I think fans have a short memory, and Kyle Larson's only had one season where he had more than one win. And if you read any Twitter thread, they're talking about Kyle Larson making it to the round of 8, if not the round of 4. And I think that is absolutely ridiculous. I personally will be surprised. I think the round of 16 is definitely manageable for him, but I do not see Kyle Larson in the round of 12. And honestly, I don't see him winning a race this year. Maybe a couple of top 5s, but that's about all I'm expecting out of this 5 team.
I do not see the 5 team picking up a lot of wins. And also, Larson has struggled with this new package that NASCAR's been running, the NA18D. And that was before he got in trouble. Now he's missed pretty much the entire season of running on it. I think he's going to struggle a lot more than what people think. And everyone's really overstating his win in the Chili Bowl, trying to say that he's like the best race car driver ever. Folks, I'm going to burst your bubble. Kyle Larson isn't even the best driver in NASCAR, let alone the world. He's not even the best driver to have driven the 42.
Daryl, I can hear the people typing on Twitter now.
At me.
Yeah, we just got canceled.
At me. I dare you.
Radio is canceled 2021.
Well, they can't cancel the show. 1, I help out a lot around here, and 2, I own the show. So, but yeah. Anyway, the point is, Larson, he's good. He's a really good dirt driver. He does not have the resume to enter any GOAT debates yet. He's got to win some big time races in NASCAR before he enters any sort of GOAT debate, in my opinion.
I agree. He's got a lot to prove to get the designation of the best in NASCAR. And, quite frankly, he's never going to be as good as Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin. That is not a ceiling that he's going to come close to.
No.
If his career win total is in the 20s, I think that's about as high as I would put his career win total would be, in the low 20s.
Mm-hmm. And just
he's not touching Kyle Busch's 200.
I don't think so either. Well, of course, he'd have to run Xfinity and truck, but no one's going to touch that mark that Kyle Busch has set up. Just to be that good in all three series, I don't think we're going to see that mark eclipsed at all. And some late breaking news here. Actually, some literally just breaking news 3 minutes ago. There's a new sponsor for Trackhouse Racing. They've signed Pump It Up Party for some races in 2021. They are a group for birthdays, camps, and inflatable jumping fun. So it looks like they make some of those inflatable bounce house things you may have seen at parties, cookouts, and other sorts of corporate events. So they're going to be sponsoring some races for Trackhouse Racing as more sponsors start to come in for that team. And, of course, 2311 has a bunch of sponsors as well. It's nice to see, even if they're small sponsors, it's nice to see sponsors coming into the sport. And now we've got to get through this absolute laundry list of Xfinity and Truck Series changes. I'm just going to go through this as quickly as possible. You ready? Chris Wright moves to the... I'm just going to go rapid fire on this. So 3, 2, 1... In the Truck Series, Chris Wright moves to the O2. Ryan Truex is back full-time in Nice Motorsports. Chandler Smith goes from part-time in the 18 to KBM Motorsports, with KBM Motorsports. Chase Purdy is going full-time in the 23 for GMS, and I messed up with Chandler Smith. He's going to be full-time in KBM. Sorry about that. Timothy Peters is back in the Truck Series with Rackley WAR. John Hunter Nemechek is now in the 4 with Kyle Busch Motorsports. Brett Moffitt, we saw that interview at the end of last season, leaves GMS to go over to Nice, and Raphael Lassardt moves over from Kyle Busch Motorsports to the 24 at GMS. And, of course, this is Haley Deegan's first year in the trucks. Now, Xfinity. RSS Racing goes from Chevy to Ford. Kyle Weatherman and Bailey Curry join up for full-time efforts with Mike Harmon Racing, friends of the show. We had Mike Harmon on last year during the COVID red flag. Ryan Vargas is now full-time in JD Motorsports, joining Landon Castle. Myatt Snyder goes from a part-time effort with RCR to a full-time RCR effort. Sam Myers is going to be part-time with JR Motorsports, and Riley Herbst is in the 98 NSHR. I think I got it all. That's just a smattering of the changes in Xfinity and Truck. That's just the important bits. There is a lot of changes in the undercard, and it usually seems when there's a few changes in Cup, there's a little bit more changes in Xfinity. We had half the grid change in Cup, and it feels like 3/4 of the Xfinity and Truck grid either switched places or new teams came up. It's going to make getting the Rolodex of who's in what when we get to Speed Week extremely interesting in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. One of the biggest complaints people have, obviously, is the rotating sponsors. So some drivers can have 4 or 5 sponsors in a year. I find that fun. Like, I find it a challenge to remember, Kyle Busch is in the monster car this week. Oh, now he's in Gear Wrench. Or, Chase Elliott, Hooters, Napa, Kelly Blue Book, whatever. It's fun to see the paint schemes and see the different cars and all that stuff. And this year, add on to it the fact that just about everybody, more people have switched to seat than not. It's going to be it's going to be fun to try to keep track of everything and watch the races, and it's going to be a challenge for the brain, and I'm excited for it.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see how Xfinity and Truck get down. Xfinity was hands down some of the best racing last year in NASCAR. And it's funny what happens when you take most of the Cup guys out of that series and let the guys trying to get the Cup race amongst each other, how much better that series became. It's almost as if making it the next, or at the time, the Sprint Cup B main detracted from the quality of the sport, I say from my tower of correctness. But I'm really excited to see what Xfinity is going to look like, as it's pretty wide open. Austin Cindric going to have a chance to defend that title, but there's a lot of hungry wolves behind him in Xfinity. They're going to try to take that championship from him. Well, don't everybody speak at once.
I figured Michael would take a turn.
Nah, I was going to let you go first.
Everyone was being too unselfish there.
It's not being awkward. It's at the end of the day, it's just us trying to be gentlemen.
They're just being polite.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun to watch the Xfinity. I don't catch the Xfinity every week. I probably watch about 3/4 of the races. So there's gonna be a lot to get to know over there, and the race for the championship is gonna be it's gonna be pretty good, but a lot of the top flight talent that we consider Xfinity talent anyway has come up to Cup in the last couple of years. So it's Cindric is still in there, yeah. So I think it's Cindric's show to win down there. It's his to lose, as far as I'm concerned.
And, of course, trucks, always wide open, always a lot of fun. A lot of people thought that the 10-race truck series chase, or the 10-truck chase, or playoffs, whatever you want to call it, down there was going to have issues. But it was some really good racing down there, and the truck series only going to get better this season.
Yeah. Trying to think of who the transfers are. You just read them all, but no, it's pretty exciting. Fans are going to be excited about Hailie Deegan. I am not so much one of those fans that's excited about her, but I think that she's going to bring a lot of popularity to the truck series. And the truck series can use that visibility.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Just bright new face brings in more people, more interest, and just overall good for the sport.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, the only Oh, go ahead, Daryl.
All I was going to say is the only thing that is going to, quote-unquote, fix NASCAR is great racing. We can't go backwards to go forward. If we get great races, no one's going to care about stages, okay? So as long as we can start making the racing great going forward, of course, with the new car coming in 2022, that's going to be increasing its testing effort this year. No one's going to care. We're really not. So about 2 minutes away from saying goodnight. Now, Christopher, I know you had some final. You had a final thought there, so I'm going to step back and let you give your final thought. And Michael, why don't you give your final thought on what you think we're going to see at the Rolex 24 this week?
So I was just going to say that the fans watching Hailie Deegan are not necessarily watching it for the excitement. They are watching for other reasons.
Unfortunately.
That's a bold statement.
Well, I don't think it's inaccurate.
I mean, go to the Instagram and comments under certain pictures. We're going to have to do...
It's creepy.
Yeah, we're going to have to bring the ladies back on to see if we can get Caitlin. Most likely Caitlin. Alita has contractual obligations that would prevent her. We got to get a female perspective on that at some point, because some of the comments that people leave... I follow Natalie Decker and a couple other lady racers on Facebook and Instagram, and if they dare to take a picture in a bikini, I don't know what happens. It's like guys turn off any part of their brain that controls logic turns off, and they just say the creepiest thing that comes to mind. Stop it.
And I don't get it.
Stop
It's not like they have a shot.
You don't. You really don't.
Haley Deegan is not going to see your nasty Instagram topic or comment and say, you know what, I'm going to direct message that guy.
Yeah.
He knows what's up.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
I think at some point when we do that show, I'm just going to get a snippet of all of those comments and just read them online, and we can rank them in creepiness. And it's not to glorify it. We have to call it out when we see it, fellas, if we're going to be better allies in 2021. Well,
is it wrong? I'm looking forward to that.
I kind of am, because I'm looking forward to the cringe.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Cringe. Just glorious cringe.
Yeah.
That'd be a good off-week topic to cover.
Definitely. And we're going to have some off weeks. I know we have NASCAR. It's going to have like a 2-week summer break for the Olympics, provided they happen. So that'll probably be one of our topics for that week. But we are at the end of this program. Thank you, Christopher and Michael, for joining me once again. The Rolex 24 is upon us, everyone. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Moms is Always Right, Media, Legacy Financial, and of course, as always, the Sports Rundown. Without them, this could not be possible. Hey, check out our Ko-Fi page, or Ko-Fi, however you want to pronounce it, if you want to be a sponsor of IE Sports Radio. We've got packages running from a day all the way to a month. Get your business out there with some of the most diehard sports fans in the country. Check out the Ko-Fi IE Sports page for your sponsorship opportunity today. And of course, keep it locked to our social medias. I'm at DK Junior 12. Michael's at Michael. What is your social media now? I think it may have changed.
It's still Michael_Ward25 on Twitter.
Gotcha. And then Christopher is at Fiji Sims. Check these guys out. I know Michael is trying to get on top of that. They're going to be doing some commentary with the Rolex 24. So join them in on the conversation on Mixlr between us, USRN, and I believe Wellington Sports is going to join as well for the 24. And of course, check out the Rolex 24 on NBCSN and Track Pass, depending on your area. It's going to be a lot of fun, boys. We're going twice around the clock. I cannot wait. But it is the checkered flag for this episode. For Christopher and Michael, I'm Daryl. This has been The Extra Mile, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.